So yeah. So this. So this. This. The Rent a Girlfriend chapter 380 reaction, man. Um a lot of people watch or read and watch Rent a Girlfriend because they know it's trash. So they watch and read it because it's trash. So I think it's funny because uh, if that's the quote unquote ending, I don't think that's actually the ending. By the way, I highly doubt that's the ending to Rent a Girlfriend. However, that would be so funny if that was the ending to Rent a Girl. Imagine if that was the ending to Rent a Girl. That would be such a crazy ending. How would you react if you was following a manga or anime and that's the ending? Honestly, um, there's nothing you can do. There's nothing you could do. That was from three. Oh my goodness, that's crazy. Everyone's talking about how that he spent $250,000 on her, and that was from 3 years ago. Uh, Now there are two sides of this debate. They're like, how can you end the series? I don't think it's ended. I don't think that's literally how the show ends or the manga ends. By the way, I really think there's probably gonna be more to it. I think it's gonna be dragged out for another 120 chapters or something like that. I think I think that would be so funny if it literally was just like imagine if it really just ended like that though. Um honest, Honestly though, how can you guys like imagine though if that really was the way it ended? Like I'm just I'm just kind of I'm just kind of appalled. Like I don't know, appalled is the right word. I think I'm flabbergasted. Um because imagine if like this was a romance with a female lead and this happened and you're like, wait, what? Because you would not want that. I think people are keep like, oh yeah, well that you can't buy love, right? But you know darn well if this was the female lead, they would be so upset if that was a legit ending, right? Um, as for okay, if we put it into a realistic mindset and a fantasy mindset, right? We gotta put this into a realistic and fantasy mindset, right? So the realistic mindset of this is like, yeah, you can't buy love. Now, expecting to win a girl with money is a horrible idea. Um, and they would both be in the wrong because if she knew she wasn't gonna love him or be with him, she should have cut him off as soon as possible. Like, what was it? Like, she just kept giving false hope, right? Cause like in or was it making movies, making films, and like he kept saying, "I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this for you," and not even as like a rent a girlfriend type of way. Like this was like beef sides doing the rent a girlfriend aspect. There's also the aspect of her. I remember seeing like because I think I tried watching the anime and she was like, "You should date this." What the turd is that? You should you should date this girl. And I was just like, wait a second. And the guy's just going along with it. Like, bro has no backbone. So, um, the guy shouldn't date just because another girl tells it. Like, bro needed a backbone. So in the realistic approach, They were both being wrong. Him for just suspecting that the money would just get her to like, and her for not putting a stop to it. Right. Um, I'm doing all right. We're talking about this. What is this? The chapter 380 to Rent a Girlfriend, right? Like because because it's shown that they both have feelings for each other, but Chizu doesn't want to admit it, right? But then Chizu has it where she has this one high schooler date him because she's like, "Oh, just date the girl," right? It's so weird. This is so weird. Um, and then so you the only honestly the only one who's like good in this scenario is the pink hair girl, but she has no screen time. Um, but in the fantasy mindset for a manga and what people would want is for the guy to end up with the girl unless they were gonna have a realistic story in which, you know, it was supposed to teach him a lesson in which they would have been like, you know, they would have been condemning him for his actions throughout the whole time. He would have been getting any girls this whole time and whatnot. However, they kept setting him off as a harem protagonist. So we know that this isn't a realistic type story because if this was a realistic type story, his actions would have been condemned from the start. It would not have been like everyone will like him this whole time, right? So this is why it's a failure because um if this was the case, he should not have been attracting anyone if that was the case. In terms of if his actions were seen as wrong. He could have probably gotten sympathy from one girl. But in this show, every girl likes him except Mammy, his ex girlfriend, where she just wants to ruin him. But he has three girls, maybe four girls who wants to date him. Um so but then you have the main love interest, her, where she wants to date him but she has to focus on herself, right? So that's why it's just like so but if you're talking about who's the audience is dude. Uh money doesn't buy yeah. The audience is dude, right? And if the audience is supposed to be a male audience, especially like a college, this is supposed to be college, so adult type of audience, right? So they're probably gonna be someone who's just starting to be an adult, right? So when they first read this, they're probably gonna be like, "Oh, I want a more mature story, but I'm still not there." They probably will expect, "Oh, so I should be acting like Kazuya," because some people will not have the cognitive ability to be like, "This is a fantasy. This is realistic, right?" Like they're not gonna be like, "This is a rent a girlfriend. This is fantasy." They're gonna be like, "The realistic." Like you know how in harem, like the guy is as generic and bland as possible because you want the people to be like, oh, he's not inherently bad or whatever. And if he is bad, like people will know he's bad, and therefore people will like that he's bad, and that's what makes him unique and whatnot. However, people realize that's not how you will actually get a girl. So that's why it's like when you see a bad harem um protagonist is like, oh, this is different, but I know this is not gonna work. But when it comes to like I think the best, I know his name was it Gordo. I forgot what the show was called. I can't remember. I really cannot remember. But um there was this whole trend where it was just like you are, you're such a basic person. Hola. So it's like you gotta go be a basic person because that's what people want. But in terms of this, I think Rent a Girlfriend is going to still get the people because Rent a Girlfriend is a telenovela essentially, where it's drama. People feed off the drama because you will come back into this because of how it's so bad that it's good type of nonsense, right? And so you're gonna keep coming back until there's a conclusion. You're gonna hate the conclusion, but you're gonna want to know what happened because you wasted all your time. Está bien. You wasted all this time. So, like, what actually happens? What actually happens? You need to know what happens. That's the main thing. You need to know what happens. But the main thing is, who do you actually even like? Can you, besides the pink girl who isn't really an option, she's the main character. So she's gonna be the one he ends up with. And you know that textually you don't really want her, but that's who you get. I don't know. We could talk about that later. So yeah. So now that she rejected him, you're gonna have 100 chapters, either her regretting her actions or him finally moving on and her being like, dang, I wish I actually um picked him. Like, there's gonna be a reason why you keep coming back. Because he'll either go with that girl, the high schooler, and she's gonna be like, oh man, I should have been with Kazuyo. But she didn't. There's gonna be a reason why people come back to it, right? Um, because we know mommy is not really an option, right? I don't know the story with the blue hair chick, but I feel like she's not an option because she came way late into the game, and usually a girl who's super late into the game is not really seen as an option, right? But we know in this story, this type of story, it's always gonna be the main girl, right? And the one chick who's pink hair, we know that she would be the right option, but it's never gonna be her because Kazuya is gonna want her because she's the first person you see, right? That's usually how these stories go, right? Uh, if this is really the final story, though, the final chapter, how could you guys actually like live with this though? That's my question. Like, how would this feel? Like, is this something like you they got the money and ran? Like, this is my question. It's like this is just kind of turning my head because how can you literally just like invest all your time reading this and then be like, wait a minute. It's like, wait a minute. And you can't reread this story. Or if you did, it would be like 20 years from now. Like, this is the thing. It's just like, what the turd? Like, that's one of my things. It's just like, this story is not really something that has replayability. That's what makes it so funny is that this is such garbage that is good garbage, but you cannot like actually do anything with it. And that's why it cracks me up. I don't know. What are your thoughts with Rent a Girlfriend? Because it is so funny that it lasted so long. I feel like this is low key something where this show low key saves people with being like, you know what? I could have done worse. And then I read this and made me feel like, you know what? Um, I've actually gotten a chance at life. Like, I don't know. This is something that cracks me up just looking at. Like, imagine just seeing this and you're just like, uh it, it has, yeah, okay, but art can only get you so far. That's the thing. Uh that's what I'm saying. It's just like, dang, this would probably be like, you know what? This this will make me thankful about my love life. I don't know. That's the thing that cracks me up about this. That's what I'm saying. It's like you probably have to feel grateful. Maybe this is like one of those mangas where you're just like, you know what? Maybe this is my go-to anime to, like, if I ever feel like I'm missing love, I just read this and I'm just like, you know what? Maybe I don't need. That's one of those things where it's just like, dang, you know what? At least I didn't waste 5 years of my life with someone who ain't giving, because that's low key what it's giving. That's low key what it's giving me right now. Like, it's like, imagine, it's like, at least I didn't waste 300K, 10 years of my life. That's what it's giving. And this is like the same way if the roles were reversed. It's just like, well, at least I ain't like, if Kazuya was a chick and if the chick was dating a deadbeat, it's like, you know what? At least I ain't do all this for a dude. That's literally what it's giving. Oh my goodness, you know what? You gotta give it that, because I feel like low key this is gonna be one of these things where I'm I would be like, this is so bad, but it's gonna. It was actually two. It was $250,000, either 3 months or 3 years in the when the manga started or something. That's how much he spent, and then up to the point where it's gone. So, you know what? I would be like, you know what? My life is good. Like, this is one of these mangas you gotta read if you're ever depressed. You know how people be like, you will not understand Evangelion until you're depressed. This is one of these mangas. You know what? Honestly, chat. You, Rent a Girlfriend has to ironically be one of the greatest mangas, because it's gotta be like, if you guys ever feel like you don't have love in your life, just read Rent a Girl. Be like, it's gonna make you be so happy with your life. You're gonna be a so content. Be like, I'm so lonely. Reads Rent a Girlfriend. You know what? I'm low key better off my. That's what it's giving. That is literally what it's giving. No, because I was thinking, I was like, is there a one where I think if the roles were reversed, I could say the same thing. And I was thinking about this K drama called Nevertheless, and people will say all the time, like, why did she end up with this guy? He does nothing but give her a worse time. And I was just like, this is literally Nevertheless. Oh my goodness, chat. This is so funny. So, oh my goodness. So yeah, chat. Honestly, now that I put it in this perspective, how do you feel about if this was the canonical ending of Rent a Girlfriend? How would you feel about it? Would it make you actually feel like, you know what, this is a good lesson? Would it make you be like, you know what, chat? You know what? This is actually great, because now if I ever feel down or single, I can look back and be like, you know what? At least I didn't spend this much money and get rejected. goodness, that's so crazy. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Huh. Oh, the chapter that shall not be. Exactly, low key. I know it took me a while to get there, but low key, I think I made it best. Honestly, I'm gonna title this "Why You Should Read Rent a Girlfriend." Why the ending of Rent a Girlfriend is actually the best ending you could get. Oh my goodness. I should label it "Why Chapter 3 360 is the best chapter you can." Was that Blade Blade? Hold up. Is that Blade Blade? Let it rip? Hey, yo, what? Did I just see Blade Blade? Thanks for watching. Oh my goodness, Blade Blade reference. Anywho. Uh. Oh my goodness, chat. You know what? Honestly. Let best life. I am chat. Honestly. Best. This is honestly, instead of saying rent a girlfriend stress, this is honestly the best. Look at the switch up we did. This is honestly best nonsense you should read if you ever get through a messy breakup or something. Be like, you know what? I need to read just the last chapter to girlfriend and be like, you know what? I'm okay. I'm okay.